Louisiana has once again been ranked the worst state in the nation.
Really, like just the worst.
We're 50th
in the
their
best
ranking.
place,
Yeah,
in the best
states.
places to live.
Yeah.
It's just called best states. Please
Yeah.
tell me it's called.
It's
the best states ranking.
It's the best states rankings. We are the worst of the best states.
I did not know that. Has that been true other years?
Over the last 9 years, we have been 50th.
Every year?
Yes.
Shut up. So Mississippi's getting their shit together.
Welcome to Seriously, the podcast that dives into the baffling.
We can't send them to a prison where there's animals, where there's livestock.
The ridiculous.
Like omelets better than sex.
And downright unbelievable political climate in red states like Louisiana.
So we can't go there. There's no vegan jail.
Seriously.
Welcome to Seriously. We're your hosts. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Ellie.
This week, we have a lot of catching up to do.
Yes.
We had a great episode last week with Jackson Voss.
I'm excited. I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm excited. I adore him. I think that he is just like so funny and so smart. So I'm like the rest of our listeners, I need to be catching up and listen to that. I canceled on you at the very last minute. So really, thank you, Jackson, for stepping in, which will kind of go to my Seriously, actually. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I have a follow up to the conversation with Jackson. Another little bit of data center news to drop later in the episode. My Seriously thing is more. It's personal this week, and it's more of it's more of like an I've had it rant.
Love a good I've had it rant.
I have had it with yard work, and not me doing yard work, but the yard work that is happening
around you,
around me.
I've had it with both things.
Yeah.
Early in the morning, the like weed.
It's just incessant.
Yeah.
I mean, like summer in New Orleans is so fucking noisy. And so, yeah, I mean, every single day there is a mower, a leaf blower, a weed whacker, some persistent, really annoying sound that is happening. It seems right outside my house.
It's loud. I know exactly what you're talking about. So this is actually true, I think, year round here. And it's Tuesday mornings. I've realized this.
No,
I'm saying this is
going to be my proposal. But go ahead.
So it's my neighbor across the street who I love and who is a great homeowner. It took me a while to figure out what was happening. But like basically without exception, at about 7 a.m. on Tuesdays, then there is
yeah.
And it's very loud. It's like really near my bedroom actually. And like initially, I mean, I wasn't going to do anything or complain to it, but I was like, I think there are noise ordinances that like you're not allowed to start shit like that before 8. Finally, I realized it was like, oh, this is Mr. So-and-so. I won't say his name, but not that anyone would know. He's a very nice guy, but like this, he likes doing his own yard work, but that is not his job. So like that's the day he does it, and he's doing it early to then move on to other things.
Yeah.
So I respect that, but it's very 7 a.m. for like incessant cutting of everything in your ear is not great.
Well, my proposal is this: if I was mayor of the city, I would strongly.
Helena?
Yes, Helena, this is for you.
Of all the things you have to deal with, we've got something from the top of your list.
Please make this a priority. I need a citywide ordinance that we pick one day of the week where all the yard work is done. That is the day where it's going to be loud and obnoxious, and we can plan our Zoom calls and all the other things.
So then I can
just
like knock myself out on those days.
Exactly.
The problem, Michelle, is that would only really work for people who are doing their own yard work. Like how is like everybody who it's their job to do yard work for other people or who are hiring other people, how is that going to get done?
I don't know. We're going to need to figure it out. Like we supplement their teams so that, they can hire more
everyone in the city.
To like spread out. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really thought about the logistics.
I see. Yes.
But I'm just saying.
It's got to be like communism where it's like everybody has to help with the clean.
Maybe it's not one day throughout the city, but it's like these 3 blocks. You know, it's like trash pickup. It's like, okay, in this area, this is the day that yard work gets done.
I think we need to do it, just like old school Soviet style, where everyone is responsible for. It would be like with your school or whatever, that when you're like a kid, that you're also responsible for cleaning the school. So like on various days, the kids come and clean the school. So this is like every Tuesday, everyone has to mobilize for yard work, city yard work.
That's not what I'm proposing. I'm not proposing that I do my yard work.
No, I mean, but that is what's going to happen with your.
I'm proposing that my yard work get done on the same day as my neighbors and my neighbor.
Maybe you
and
just
my
need
neighbor.
a collective bargaining plan, the opposite of communism, but so similar. You got to get everybody in your block involved.
Okay. Well, we're going to look into how we need to structure this legally and logistically.
I got it. Well, so long, and we'll get back to you when we have that good solution. Get right back to you.
If you have any ideas on how we can do this, please leave them in the comments.
So for me, the corollary that is far worse is the construction noise, which is periodic, but a lot around my house. Like just different people doing different things. And that during the day is so unbelievably grating and like very on Zoom calls and stuff like that. Like it's because at least with the grass cutting, it's just like, it's like sort of like white noise, not with the construction. So I would prefer that we had one day for construction.
I will tell you, one of my neighbors across the street from me is a young man in high school who is learning to play the marching French horn. And he lives with his grandmother. His grandmother won't let him practice in the house. Mm-hmm. So all summer long, he's been practicing outside, like to the point where like I can play this now. I mean, like his little practice riffs or whatever. Like I know how to do it. I finally broke down a few weeks ago and I bought him a practice mute and was like went across the street. I was like, I'm not trying to offend you with this at all. You are making a lot of progress and I'm super proud of you. And I can't wait to like see you in the Mardi Gras parades.
It's
loud.
What's the practice mute?
It just mutes, you put, it's like I don't know, some sort of foamy thing that you put in the bell. And so you can still play all the notes, it's not like blocking the air, but it quiets it.
This is giving me like hilarious COVID flashbacks because so like during COVID, then my sister and I, and then my mom, brother, and nephew in Kentucky went to my sister's beach house in Florida for, I don't know, several weeks. That was during the school year. And so my nephew was, of course, like doing online learning, whatever. But like Blair and I were basically like, trying to also be lawyers at the time. And so keep everything sort of facilitated. And one of the segments, of course, that my nephew had was band. So I remember her and I looking at each other and being like, band? So we would put him out in the garage. He was playing like that. It was like the tuba or something. It was like this enormous and very loud instrument, which we quickly realized that like he was bad at it and had no idea what he was doing. But like I'll never forget the moment when we were like pretty on top. We're like, okay, we got this going, like he'll sit here, we'll sit here, we can work, they can do whatever, like had it pretty much, and then looking at each other and being like, band. Yeah. There's a segment that's banned. What are we going to do about
tuba? He had a physical tuba?
Maybe it was the trombone. It was enormous.
Jesus.
And he couldn't play it, but yeah, it was similarly like became an outside project. I mean,
yeah.
God.
Garage band. That's right. Okay.
Garage band for kids learning to play an instrument that they neither care about.
Zoom?
I mean, it was that time.
It kind of feels like maybe you give up band.
Yeah, it's true. I think some of it was it was like set aside for they would like, which is also why it was never happening. They would do some like instruction and then like do this now. And, we would be like, it's pretty quiet out there for band, like go out there and he's like, doing
on
fucking nothing. Yeah, exactly. While waiting for like the time to run out for the instructor to come back or whatever. Like shit show all around.
Hilarious. Okay. Well, neighborhood aside, do you have a seriously this week?
Yeah. So I was just thinking about, my seriously is that, as you know, I just turned 50 a couple of weeks ago. And the seriously about it is that I barely even noticed that it happened.
Oh, I know. That is not, I just want to say that is not the fault of your friends.
No,
we
it's
have,
not at
We
all.
have actually been working to try to
Yes.
force Ellie to celebrate her birthday this year.
Yeah, so this is why it's so funny. So it's like, I mean, I'm a big birthday person, as anyone knows. This comes from the Leo. And it was a big birthday, which, but it's 50, so, it's like there's some emotional, like, okay, whatever. I was teasing with another good friend of mine from Kentucky that my oldest and best coping mechanism with anything in like my personal life is being a workaholic. And sometimes I've done that intentionally, and other times like this has just been like inadvertent. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm so like consumed and busy with work that like I really basically did not notice either before or since that I turned 50 in 2 weeks ago. So that's both a seriously and maybe a word of advice to anyone else out there. If there's any both with any sort of big birthday or just generally, if like, anything in your personal life is like potentially maybe going to be consuming your thoughts, don't think about it. Just pour yourself into your work, and then you won't even know that it happened.
Well,
which it also reminded me
we'll
of.
try again when you turn 60.
That's right. Oh my God. It also reminded me of at some point when I was a kid. So again, I've always been a big birthday person. I've also always been somebody who like, whatever, if for whatever reason could stay up very late and then sleep all day, like kind of like today when you were like trying to come here and I was inadvertently asleep.
It's like left melt on Ellie's front porch.
So at some point when I was pretty little, then I like basically slept through my birthday. Like I slept till like 3:00 in the afternoon, and then like woke up, and then like my mom was like, "You almost slept through your birthday," and I was like, "What?" Like and kind of like, "Why did you let me almost sleep through my?" Actually, I was gonna say that it was when I was 6, but I'll tell you what. Now that I think about it, I bet you anything it was when I turned 8.
Okay.
Because that would have been about 6 months after Blair, the third child, was born. So my mom had 3 kids. And now within 6 months of that, it would become very clear that my parents' marriage was very much on the rocks. So like, while my mom adores me and always took my birthday seriously, I'm sure like
she was consumed.
It was fine. Yeah, like me being still asleep was like, it's fine. But yeah, like I don't have a bad memory of that. It was just like it was all kind of felt weird. Like, why did I almost sleep through my birthday and no one really noticed? That's how I feel this year. Like I almost slept through my birthday.
That's really funny. Yeah.
Seriously.
I've never been a big birthday person.
I know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I share a birthday. My sister and I have the same birthday. So my birthday literally has never just been special.
Well, my sister tried very hard and did succeed in me not sharing a birthday with my niece, who was born the day. That was also another thing going on this year. My niece was born the day before.
Yeah.
I realized actually like a little bit before is good. Then she'll be done with whatever hoopla she is planning and then can celebrate my birthday.
Yeah. That's good.
It's the Leo problem.
You want it to be all about you.
It's the joke. One of the jokes is that, the sun is the biggest spotlight on the planet. So we can't help it.
Well, speaking of narcissists.
Yes. We got so many on the list from what I can tell.
All right. Well, this is my favorite story. And there's been a lot of coverage of this, but I really wanted to talk about it with you because it's so funny. Trump was secretly squirreled away onto an airport catering truck so that he could switch planes in Turkey because they were worried that Iran might try to shoot Air Force One down.
Was it a hot dog truck?
It was.
Do we know?
It was those catering trucks that like drive up and they like load all of the shit onto the airplane.
Okay, I see.
It's one of those.
Okay. Yeah,
they're
like
not
a Cisco
They're
one.
not big, and he was packed in there with several people.
Of course, heard like during my middle of the night listening to the Bulwark and whatnot. Heard some about this, but not probably as much as you have. And so in some of the reporting, I heard it more joked about like a hot dog cart.
Yes. I mean, the thing is like this is some Veep shit.
It's true. It's so true.
This is 100% something that would happen to Selena Myers.
Yes,
like,
it is.
They would be packing Selena Myers and Gary,
true.
in there, and they would like leave behind like the communications guy that was fucking terrible.
Yes.
But the funny but also kind of freak.
Yes, exactly.
They left Air Force One to be like a decoy.
Like just
The entire press corps.
I mean, the fact that this is one of those, like, the answers raises more questions sort of situation. I mean, it's obviously it worked out very well, this sort of like weird subterfuge of a plan.
Yeah.
But like, I assume they had to have come up with that very much on the fly. I mean, this cannot have been something that like the Secret Service had gamed out.
They
so
loaded
number
him
one
onto the plane, and then they got him off the plane, so that the press corps would think he was on the plane.
Right, which is like it's a smart sort of like basic plan, but like how did it come to that? One would imagine this had to have been such a significant threat, or just like the logistics were in place so poorly that someone smart at the last minute was like, I got it. Here's what we do. We do an old school magician's trick.
Yes.
Like a person goes into the box, there's a drop down, the box opens up, and they're not there. Like that can't be what was like gamed out by the Secret Service for decades, which they are gaming things out.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I just think what's funny is the people that were left behind, like Marco Rubio. These are apparently the expendable members of the cabinet.
Oh, okay.
Like top aides. Marco Rubio was left behind on the decoy plane.
Oh my God.
The Treasury Secretary.
Oh my God. So wait, because that plane flew out too. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one where people were told to put their shades down?
Yeah.
So, interesting.
That's
hilarious.
Stephen Miller. So you kind of, I mean.
So, like, the thought process is that maybe that plane was going to get shot by a missile.
Right.
And so they needed to get the president.
And by the way, this is the Qatari plane.
Right. Of course.
Just wasn't ready for Air Force One.
Which that was the reporting early on, of course, was just that was the issue. Like just last minute, there were credible threats that, like the Iranians might try to shoot down the plane, and that plane doesn't have the same missile defense systems. Mm-hmm. But it turns out it was far more significant, because I thought for sure in the initial reporting that they'd moved everyone to another plane. That we just aren't taking this plane. We're taking this one instead. I would have some real issues if I were the people who were left on that other plane. Just like at this point, like, I mean, like, so you guys let us take off, like knowing that you thought it was serious enough that like a missile was going to shoot the plane that we are on down, that you put the president in a hot dog cart and took him off of this plane.
That's right.
Okay. Where was J.D. Vance? He was still in the U.S. He was like not even on the trip.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he was there. Hegseth was on the...
Did he get on the good hot dog cart?
He got on the hot...
Of course he did.
He actually got off the plane and then just loaded onto this jet so that it could look like that jet was there on the runway.
He's like, okay.
Hegseth.
He's like, I got this. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah,
because he knew this was happening. He's like, okay, well, so a corollary of the plan is I'm going to get in just as a further distraction. It's like... Ding, ding, ding. I've got a plan to save myself. That motherfucker is always going to have a plan to save himself. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. Like, he's got a lot of self-preservation in him and a lot of who gives a fuck about anybody else. Right. Like, tell me someone who would not go down with a ship, right? I mean, like, of anyone who should go down with a ship should be like the military guy in charge, right? I mean, that's like part of the whole...
sacrifice.
The whole thing. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally what the captain of the ship does. Peg says, like... But what if instead the captain of the ship needed to do an errand while this emergency was happening?
Yeah. Actually, so there's this like a military aircraft that's just right there. I'll get in that. I don't know I don't know who all of the popes that they shoved in this Volkswagen were. That's what this whole thing reminds me of. It's like the popes in a Volkswagen. But I do know that Trump's lady that follows him around and just prints out like tweets that he's going to get excited about.
Is this the one who loves him and sometimes like prints out things that says "I love you"?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
whatever.
Things that are just going to make Trump happy. Like she got shoved into the hot dog cart.
That's smart.
She's indispensable.
She's his emotional support person.
Yeah.
Whatever her name is, Hope. It's not Hope. Let's just pretend it's her name. Something like that. Yeah. No matter what happens, like Dope would be with me. The rest of you, may all leave me, but like she would be with me no matter what. And that seems to be the case. And I'm sure he meant that up to and including his own actual family by blood and marriage.
Probably.
So I'm sure he was like, bring her. Like, if this person dies, I am screwed. Like, there's no one on the planet who actually really likes me when it comes down to it. Like, as much as he believes that he is beloved in a moment of like actual existential, I might be about to die, I would think even he might be like, okay, well, if there's one person on the planet, if I have one wish to save one person,
it's her.
It's actually this person who adores me without any requirement of reciprocation at all. Please save her, Lord. That's who I request. That's insane. I want to find out this has inspired me to want to find out more about this whole conundrum. I would think decades into the future, there's going to be reporting on exactly how this went down. It is so bizarre.
Yeah.
It is such a,
So on Jimmy Kimmel, he had a guest host, and I'm just going to play you a little bit of his coverage of this.
Just when you think you've heard every dumb thing there is to know about this president, he always finds a way to surprise you. Apparently, after the NATO summit last month, Trump hid inside a catering cart to sneak out of Turkey due to security threats. And let's give it up. Let's give it up to the Secret Service. Do you know how hard it is to sneak a pig out of Turkey? They even caught the presidential switcheroo on video.
According to the Washington Post, Trump boarded the older Air Force One in front of the cameras, waving from the stairs, and then slipped out a door on the other side of the plane into an air.
That's good. The bookmobile too is perfect. Again, there's just Trump is they're like, wave really big when you get on the plane.
Yeah.
Be sure to do a big wave. Yeah, I'm gonna have to learn more about this. It's
very
too ridiculous. Last thing on that, actually, though, that is kind of serious that I did hear somebody say is that in addition to like how did this possibly happen to begin with, how all of it, then why did this leak? Like, of all the things that, people are leaking because they should, why did this leak?
Because Rubio was left behind.
Maybe.
And Rubio wants to run for president.
Maybe.
And the more buffoonish he can make Trump look, the easier it'll be for him to separate
That's a good theory. From reporters, they say this a bunch, and you can kind of tell this 2.0 Trump administration is not very leaky. Like, everyone is circled in on the fucking wagons. And JD Vance is leaking. All the reporting is basically usually JD Vance stuff. Like all the Maggie Haberman, it's always like somehow JD Vance is like, but JD Vance said he's really against blah, 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 like whatever. So it's like strategic leaking is the only thing. But this has like a lot of national security implications. So it seems like of all the things that are leaking, normally it's something that, yes, like there's some benefit maybe to somebody, but also like there is a reason that the public would want to know. This seems like one of the least likely things that you like just from a, like a safety standpoint would want to leak. I like the Rubio theory.
Yeah. It's a working theory. Okay.
Or Hegseth just got drunk and like couldn't help himself. He's like, listen to what we did. Well, listen to what we did.
I mean, I think fundamentally what happened was there were some New York Times reporters that were reporting that something happened here because they were like suspicious as to why they were being asked to pull.
Well, there were probably reporters on the plane. Yeah,
there
exactly.
were. The whole White House press corps was on.
I know, but the shades, but that all was explained by. Oh, but they didn't know that he was on a different plane.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they were digging into that, and then they are the ones that published the initial story that he switched planes.
Right.
And then Trump went after them and is trying to sue them for covering this. And then it comes out that really he's just embarrassed that he was, stuffed into a hot dog cart.
And also, it's like, well, you're not, if it was your personal experience that you were on the plane, you know it to be true as an actual fact from your personal experience. There's not really anything to be sued about. Okay. Moving on. Yeah.
Trump has again tried to curb birthright citizenship with 2 new executive orders because he just can't help himself.
I don't even know what this is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's issued 2 new executive orders to deny citizenship. Now, so one of them would deny citizenship to children born to parents who belong to groups that have been designated as terrorist organizations.
That doesn't seem like anything to be hard to implement.
Children born to foreign diplomatic staff. I think that's actually already covered, but children born in U.S. territories where Congress has not passed a law granting citizenship.
Ooh, that's like Puerto Rico-ish.
Puerto Rico. America
Yeah.
Samoa is the only one that would be covered there, like where you would be a citizen. The second executive order is designed to end this birth tourism thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humongous problem.
Yeah.
And again, how are they going to figure it out? What's the implementation and interpretation of this? Same as being the child of a suspected terrorist or whatever they're saying.
Yeah. So if you're here as a foreign national, just traveling to the U.S. for the purposes of giving birth, then again, how are they going to ascertain?
I don't know if we actually talked about or not, maybe, but with what the Supreme Court did with, like striking all of this down, that were the Republicans really going to give up on it or not,
No, I think this is their attempt to try to find the narrow exceptions that they think that the Supreme Court would. And I think that this, like, if you're here on a tourism visa and you give birth, that seems like something that maybe the Supreme Court
it seems
would want to find an exception for.
It seems to me like it's a message. These are messaging bills, because again, there's some talk that Republicans are not going to give this up and may try to do a constitutional amendment or blah, blah, like try to try to make this a row, which I don't know if that's going to work for them, but this is like keeping that conversation going because yes, it's obviously pointing out things that people read the most of. Well, that's not right. That shouldn't be able, you shouldn't be able to do that. But in reality, would either set up a situation where you're like interrogating people at the time of birth, at the time of giving birth, or that there is a scenario where many years later, when you're an adult, you could have your citizenship stripped. Turns out that your mom was a terrorist, or we think she was. So now you're 25.
Yeah.
But we've ascertained now, or that they came here for, the birth tourism. Like those are going to be more like after the fact that could be determined.
Well, but one of the things that could happen is that they would just deny visas to pregnant women.
Yeah. I mean, the insane people on the right were calling for that when the Supreme Court's decision came down. Was like not letting pregnant people into the United States.
Yeah.
Just like, it's just, I actually personally really loved that because like, it's just, it really like, it lays bare so many things, while also at the same time being so counterintuitive. Like they want women to be having children, like they want to make all of us have children. Yes. But also are so like just antagonistic to the rights of pregnant people, like just so antagonistic that, like you think that it might be not just like potentially legal, but like a good idea to be like, we're going to ban pregnant people from coming to this country. Yeah. Like what fucked up, like misogynistic world are you living in? Like we gotta try. I mean, it's just again, it's very Handmaid's Tale. We're gonna trap the ones here and make them have a lot of kids. Then we're gonna not let anyone else in. I mean, so that was obviously not going to happen. I mean, not legally, but it's definitely that's an outgrowth of that. Yeah, insanity.
Okay.
So those that's an executive order. So
I mean, they're going to be challenged.
Yeah,
they're
not going to. Again, I don't see how they're going to have very much practical effect.
Let's move into dumb shit happening in Louisiana specifically. Louisiana has once again been ranked the worst state in the nation.
Like what?
This is the U.S. News and World Report.
Is rankings. It just really like just the worst? Because like, is that the
50th?
In the best ranking. Place, in the best places to live. Yeah. It's just called best states. Please tell me it's called. It's the best states ranking.
It's the best states rankings, and they
not best for any, just like best versus.
Well, I mean, they have categories like education, poverty,
right, and so cumulatively, all those things
We are the worst of the best.
I
states.
did not know that. Has that been true other years?
Over the last 9 years, we have been 50th.
Every year?
Yes.
Shut up. So Mississippi's getting their shit together. It's also proof of that.
Both Mississippi and
Alabama.
Alabama and Arkansas are, they're beating. I mean, obviously they're beating.
Yes, because everyone is. But
We're
they
actually
would be the
only-
contenders.
We're the only state in the entire country to rank in the bottom 10 across all 8 of their evaluation categories.
The only one. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I didn't. And okay. So what?
This is what Republican supermajority gets you in
That's
Louisiana.
right. That's right. And Jeff Landry also.
By
bringing in
supermajority,
more-
I mean, like control of all the state, executive
True.
as well.
I thought you meant of the legislature because it's both. It's a supermajority and a supermajority.
Yeah.
So super.
A global
It's
supermajority.
Uber supermajority.
Uber majority.
What are the categories? Education, health. I'm just guessing.
Crime, education, healthcare, environment, infrastructure, health. Did I already say that? Fiscal stability and economic opportunity.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not surprising. It's just
it's not.
you know.
But I mean, when you just thinking about it, as somebody who, same with you, who grew up in the South, so is familiar with the South, as opposed to when I went to school, otherwise lived in the North, and I would get frustrated with people who just have a basic discriminatory view of the South, even though we are doing things all the time to reinforce that. It's constantly like this.
Right.
And also being super racist, all of those things, just constantly reinforcing it. But it was very frustrating to me. But here, then, being back here, but being from Kentucky, which also is a shit state. I mean, I always tease that it was the stepchild state that nobody wanted to claim, all the time. My parents will be here and they're like, the roads are horrible here. And they are. I mean, they're just undeniably horrible. There's just things that are undeniably going so much worse here than they are in other shitty parts
Almost
of
anywhere.
the South. So it's not actually that surprising. Also, again, Kentucky, it's mostly been, in the last 20 years, but I'm sure this is true with Arkansas and Alabama for sure. Some of this was more true. We were 50th in education when I was there. Those states have strategically done things to try to, they've moved up in various rankings, at least in certain categories. Kentucky has made great strides in certain areas in the past 20 years. But I guess we have not.
Now, Kentucky is 41 on the overall.
All right, that's pretty good.
But 10 in crime, pretty good
good.
on crime. 19 on natural environment, 25 in opportunity. I mean, that's pretty damn good for, 28 infrastructure. Still doing pretty bad on healthcare and economy,
100%
but
it's gonna be.
yeah.
So but again, and I'm sure people who live there would have varying opinions about how true that feels.
Yeah.
And I haven't lived there in 20 years, so longer than that actually. But there's been, led by governors, a lot of strategic planning and investment, and not just by Bashir. I mean, but by other governors, but many of whom were Democrats, including his dad, Bashir's dad, to try to, strategically work on one of these things sort of at a time, but in a way we need to bring education up. We need to bring health up. We need to bring whatever up.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what. It's amazing to me, is the point. Louisiana feels shitty and dysfunctional, even when you're from a place that is objectively shitty and dysfunctional.
I think if the categories were corporate tax breaks, if the categories were wild self-dealing, things like that, we would be at the top.
Well, that's why a lot of the economic stuff is going poorly. But it's also it's these people, I mean, meaning our government, being just redneck and coon-ass fucking idiots with all the self-dealing.
Yeah.
Just the woo, we're going to get some big business in here. We're going to give us some tax breaks. Because everyone's doing that. Florida's doing that. Texas is doing that. They're doing that on large scales. And it's going fine. I'm not saying that there aren't problems, but it's driving lots of economic development there. Somehow we're doing this in the dumbest, most counterproductive way possible that just continues to allow basically the state to be like raped of its resources without actually really getting much back in return.
That's correct.
Like this is always the public partnerships like this have always been a challenge. Like you want to attract big business, and everybody's trying to do it. So there's no doubt that there's good public policy that helps you do that by doing certain sort of tax breaks and incentives. I mean, and a lot of this, I mean, Alabama and South Carolina have done that very well with like car manufacturing. Like there's lots of ways to do that has been very successful. Somehow we have not figured that out. Like all of these other states have figured that out. Like literally every single one of them has figured out ways to do that actually does create jobs.
Yeah.
And so actually does benefit people as opposed to shit that we've done, like just an example, like the film, like Holly, the tax credits and stuff for movie filming here, which again, a lot of states were doing, but like the research on that here is like, it has had no benefit. Like they did it in such a half-assed, like unresearched way that it was just kind of like, what do you want? Okay, we can do that. So it just like the amount that was going out did not at all like equate to the amount coming in.
Yep.
So you're just actually lowering the taxable base in the interim while saying it's like literally like you've got the drain on while you're trying to fill up the bathtub, you know? Like you can't, like it can't be draining. It's just, I don't understand why.
Yep.
Every other stupid fucking state has been able to figure out how to work with big whoever, you know, big industry in ways that are helpful to the state, even if there are some problems, and we have not at all.
Yeah. Well, and to the extent that you give all these tax breaks and then you realize that, the water is going down the drain, a lot of states are rolling those back in some industries.
That's right.
It's a lot of what Jackson and I actually talked about on like the AI front, the data centers.
Yeah, well, which is like obviously the new frontier. And here, I mean, you know, that I don't know. It may just be that it's like an inability to learn lessons from past experience and just deep-seated corruption, basically.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
also just think that, you know, part of it is just having to figure out the balance of wanting to attract businesses to Louisiana, but not really wanting to improve the school systems or healthcare or you know, kind of wages or any of that to attract the workers to those businesses. Because if we do that, then we're not keeping this racist structure in place that allows us to keep the masses here ignorant, poor, and suffering.
I mean, that's, you know, there's no doubt whether that's, I mean, I think that's both intentional and just sort of subconscious with these folks. But the sort of other side of the coin is that I don't think that our leaders are smart enough. Again, when we talk about Florida, Texas, like Kentucky, like Alabama, like people in charge there have been thinking about this like in a global way. You know, in order for this to work, then companies will have to be able to convince their employees to fucking come here.
Yeah.
And people only fucking come here if like their kids can go to a school that doesn't fucking suck. And if there are hospitals that like you don't die at and like whatever. So you have to go, but like with anything else, you have to go about this like really sort of like in a both strategic but like very broad way. And I don't know that the people we have are like
for people.
I don't think we have the people with enough sort of like vision and just like basic understanding or like motivation, really, you know, to be like, okay, well, we're gonna have to change things.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to make things better.
Yeah.
We have to figure out how to do that.
Well, this is one of the solutions. Let's just let's move us forward, because one of the solutions that Louisiana has is to work with the federal government to end decades of oversight meant to end segregation.
Yeah, I saw this on the show map list. I don't know. This is when it's in Bossier.
The article I sent you was in Bossier, but there's been a lot going on.
Well, in the Trump administration, like new era. I assume this is happening everywhere in the South.
Probably.
And also, so in two fronts, in other words. So there's been, as people will know, like long time consent decrees with various school districts that come from desegregation. So, you know, not allowing school districts having some federal oversight, basically, of school districts that, had a history and intent of discrimination and segregation. Of course, it's also true of the criminal justice system in all the places that were under consent decrees because of police brutality and not at all respecting people's civil rights in that way. The Trump administration is systematically going about getting on both fronts, on the school front and the police front, getting local governments out of these consent decrees, which I think is really interesting. I do.
So the most recent one is Bossier Parish, which is up in the Shreveport area.
It's Mike Johnson's. He might have been.
Right.
I'm sure Mike had something to do with it. Well, he would have been putting it on their radar.
The big local star behind this, who's super excited about it, is old Liz Merle.
Okay.
So she, in a tweet, she called it long past time for these consent decrees to end. She said they were, quote, expensive and ineffective. And then this is my personal favorite, and that they, quote, take power away from local communities, because she really
that's her
local.
jam. Yeah.
She has been working very closely with the Trump administration.
Sure.
She helped to lift the mandate on Concordia Parish, and then they've since 2025, I think there's 4 or 5 other ones. So Louisiana, just so people understand, our German listener.
That's right.
Louisiana had a particularly entrenched system of segregation.
Versus Ferguson comes from here.
That's correct.
Our German listener might not know that, but
that's correct.
Some people do. Yeah. So the Supreme Court decision that blessed segregation initially.
Right. So even after the Supreme Court Brown decision, I mean, some districts in Louisiana maintain fully separate school systems, like staff, bus routes, well into the 60s and beyond. So the federal oversight was critical.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's taken a really, really long time for most of the school districts in Louisiana to come out from underneath these consent decrees.
So all of the South was very resistant, and that's why there, in the 70s, when my dad was a law clerk in Kentucky, then they started really forcibly implementing desegregation. There were riots ever. I mean, this has been a problem getting it implemented the whole time.
Yep.
And because it was so hard, there was so much violence, the solutions were busing, which everyone hated, all of that. Then the truth is that everyone has given up on this. And maybe this is why Liz is actually what's the point? There is kind of a what's the point here, actually, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's a little bit like with the vaccines. It's
yes.
Well, we've come a long way.
She and I would be coming at it from different approaches. She's saying, of course, that we've done it. We did it. Why do we? That's what they're with all the criminal justice.
Right.
We did it. My point is that we didn't do it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen. This approach actually has proven to fail.
Yes.
With the schools in the United States in general, this is not just true in the South. I've read a lot of reporting on this over the years it's really shocking. Schools are more segregated in the United States now than they've ever been.
Yeah.
And in the South, in New Orleans specifically, this is again where Louisiana is worse than other places. So again, both in the North and the South, this is a huge problem. But it's going back in time.
Yeah.
We're literally how could that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I will say that there are a lot of districts that were under these consent decrees where progress was made in some of the areas that were being monitored. But
no, I'm sort of teasing when I say I'm not at all in favor of that they should be getting rid of these.
They have failed to fully address the racial disparities, particularly in outcomes in the school system. So, these cases they're not being closed because there's any sort of actual finding that racial inequity has been resolved in any of these districts. It's just that the Trump administration, the likes of Liz Merle and Governor Landry, don't like these consent decrees.
Yeah.
And
what did she say about it? What's her? Just it's long overdue.
Yeah. And the local communities can decide, they should be the one. The court should not be monitoring what local communities are doing in their school systems.
Yeah. Again, with all the police departments, the theory is that we did it. We did it. Yay, we did it. Which there's reason to doubt, or at least reason to doubt with plenty of them, including with Orleans Parish. I mean, although that consent decree had been in place since Katrina, that was some of like the worst, most racist violence that's ever been perpetrated by a police department against its own population. So, maybe you keep it in place for like a pretty long time. Mm-hmm. It's hard to know when you get to like, where are we trying to get to?
Yeah.
But no one doubts that consent decree has been no one should doubt that it's been very helpful in reforming the police department here, and that the police have had to obey by different rules than they would have otherwise, which is also why it was problematic when like Landry, of course, always wanted to send in like, state troopers, is that they're not bound by it. So they can do things like fucking ICE is doing too, where it's just like high-speed chases with somebody who like is like not actually a violent
They
threat.
just like flipped off an ICE agent.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah. They're like suspected of doing some crime, So that's already kind of dicey. With the school stuff, then again, the only argument that I would see for that is that this is not proven effective.
Yeah.
The federal government has not figured out how to, because the mechanisms that were used that were forcible, like busing, failed. There's the ways that schools get funded are by, property tax bases, which can't really be changed by the federal government, and cities and or states have not done. So there's been a like sort of a lack of imagination or just a lack of will, all of that. But it's not working.
The underlying issue is also just that like communities are more segregated. And so when you have more segregated communities, you're going to have more segregated schools.
That's right. But again, that's why New Orleans is such an interesting sort of like test case in this, because that's actually not really true here. New Orleans is not very segregated. So the school districts it should not really be that way. The reason is, of course, is that the school systems suck. And people are also just, historically more racist. So everyone is pulling their kids out of public schools and sending them to private schools or magnet schools or whatever. So it's like there's even within like neighborhoods, then there's the same sort of like white flight, basically, that's happening. Problems that, as we've talked about, our leaders are totally up to the task, as is proven by the fact that as a state, we've ranked the worst in every metric for, what did you say, the last 9 years?
Yeah, 9 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally up to the task of coming up with bold visions, strategic leadership.
Okay. I want to talk about Senator Cassidy. Did you see this?
Yes.
Over the last several days, I've heard from lots of people sharing their views on this nomination. Mr. Blanche has become a referendum on how people feel about President Trump. If you don't like the president, you don't like Mr. Blanche. If you do like the president, you do. Mr. Blanche showed poor judgment in approving the anti-weaponization slush fund and exempting the president from IRS audits. No American should be unfairly targeted by the law, but no American should be above the law. Mr. Blanche said these were mistakes, and he has made efforts to kill the slush fund. I am particularly concerned about episodes of apparent lawfare. DOJ bringing suits against political enemies. Presidents of both parties have been guilty of this. A never-ending cycle of prosecuting political enemies undermines the rule of law, degrades the public's trust in our institutions, and makes our politics more extreme when we need to unite to solve the big problems of our time. I'm not entirely satisfied where this is, and I have no doubt that I'll have concern in the future. I am realistic that President Trump can be unrelenting on this, but this will be true no matter who the Attorney General is. He also points out that he can advise the President, but the President is not obligated to take his advice. That is the same thing that former Attorney General Barr said in a separate conversation. When former Attorney General Bill Barr endorsed Mr. Blanche, he said, Mr. Blanche will run the department as effectively as anyone can under President Trump. Some have called that faint praise. I don't think that it is. I think it is a reality. Mr. Blanche is not perfect, and he will tell you this. But the choice is not between perfection and Mr. Blanche. It is between Mr. Blanche and another acting Attorney General who may not run the department effectively under President Trump. This is not a referendum on President Trump. It is a decision regarding Mr. Blanche in very specific circumstances. All considered, I will vote for Mr. Blanche. I'll be criticized for this vote. What's new? But the people of Louisiana can be assured that I worked hard to understand the issue and to make the right decision.
That assumes that he's just like an otherwise qualified person, that, he's a blank slate and that's how people are weighing it, which is not true.
No. He's completely dishonest and sneaky.
Yeah.
And
well, and I've heard plenty of people say this, but it's actually sort of illuminating that as opposed to like any other nominee, basically, that there's been some sort of, controversy and uproar about, that they were just auditioning for the job. Like, he's had the job. This is more like a performance review,
Yeah.
There's actually like we know what you'll be like in the job. It's not like just speculation. So yes, again, Cassidy, like, this isn't like with Pete Hegseth, who has, of course, proven to be just like a disastrous and embarrassing head of the Department of War. But people wondering on the front end, like, will a weekend Fox News co-host be good at this job? Like, this guy's had the job. Anyway, but yeah.
There's been a lot of punditry about Cassidy, and people were really holding out hope. Were you holding out any hope that he would do the right thing?
No, but I get, I am a person who holds out hope, so I understand.
Yeah.
I heard, I could totally empathize. I heard Sarah Longwell talking about, I think she was on vacation or something, but kind of following this, and when he went to the well, she's supposed to hang out with her kids and her wife, but tuning in and being I knew he wasn't going to do the right thing, but just I always hold out hope. And I was oh, I know exactly what that's like. It's we are in our legislative session where it's I can get so but maybe this person, we know this person has the capacity, has at times broken with the party, or has at times, demonstrated an interest in giving a shit. Yeah, exactly. And then so it's, but it's so unlikely, but still you get kind of just in the moment. So I get that, but
He's
no.
a piece of shit.
To me, so yes. So I was not hopeful, and he hadn't been talked about, even less with this, because it was only the other two idiot assholes who are also grandstanding to no real purpose, with this being Cornyn and Thune, not Thune, Tillis, Cornyn and Tillis. I hadn't heard the Cassidy's name in the mix at all, so I just assumed that he was a foregone conclusion, which might go to my last point about this, which was, why did he need to go to the goddamn, talk about a narcissist who needs to somehow make himself a part of the story. Just go ahead into the history, be in history, and this embarrassing thing that you did. Why are you making now yourself a part of this story when actually no one really was expecting much of you? Tim Miller's take on it, which I thought was funny, is that, which again is just sort of the not just the narcissism, but these people living kind of in a bubble, was that he thinks that, which, Tim lives here, so has again, insight on Cassidy, just it's an annoying person that he, us, have to think about.
Yeah.
That Cassidy's thinking of it as that really it was a speech for history. A real speech for history about why he was taking the vote that he was taking.
He just
needed the total lack of awareness and tone deafness. That no, you just sound like a fucking asshole that's really caving in for no reason.
People are gonna be fucking mad at me anyway. Fuck you. I don't give a shit. Basically was the tone of his floor speech.
Yeah.
I will say he has great hair.
He does have good hair.
I'm gonna give him that's my compliment.
He's a nice looking older man.
No, he's not nice looking. He's Neanderthal-ish otherwise. But he has nice hair. Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
Todd Blanche, who Kennedy thinks would be a great attorney general. I'm sorry, Cassidy. Cassidy thinks is going to be a great attorney general.
Even though he's already been it and not great, but yeah.
I am a little bit more concerned about him because I think that he really does. I think he cares a lot more than Pam Bondi did about enforcing the Comstock Act.
He certainly talked like that in Congress.
Yes.
I mean, I think that was somewhat, well, we'll see.
He's told faith leaders that he's going to do something about it.
There's no doubt to me that was red meat to the base and trying to shore up the Republican votes, which I think was very successful on his part. So what's really the appetite, I think, remains to be seen versus, just wanting to be signaling. But I thought that was interesting. He talked about And with the FDA, just I guess to like back up for a second, like in his hearings, because there hasn't been much coverage of this, in his hearings in the Senate, then he talked. I mean, I think it was always with like baiting from Republicans, but they probably would have asked anyway. But basically about, prosecuting people for not just for the Comstock Act, but for like any of the stuff like, that's like with SHIELD law, like basically backing up Liz Murrell with, people shipping drugs illegally to the banned states in the South. So basically getting rid of the FDA rules or prosecuting things that could be in violation of them, the sleeper cell of the Comstock Act, whatever. He was very strong on, very adamant that like he thought that this was serious and that his administration would be making that a priority. I did think it was concerning.
Yeah.
And it kind of came out of nowhere, except when you know these people, So we'll see. The general concern, I think, with him, it still is unclear and unknowable, really, how much Trump wants to go down that road, Again, because like he himself doesn't give two shits about abortion. He doesn't give two shits about whether you have kids, you don't have kids, whether there's some baby daddy just makes you have an abortion or lets you have it. He does not care personally. But his base cares. And so that's a big problem. But it's also a third rail for him with like moderates that the Republicans need to keep on side. So he's, I think, fairly successfully threaded that needle, honestly, from a political standpoint, from his perspective so far. So it's hard to know. As he loses power, as he becomes less relevant, do people who have those strong views take over more? Does the religious right successfully, exert more influence on him? Todd Blanche, I doubt is a true believer. He's a New York lawyer.
Yeah.
So he might be more like in the what's politically strategic game of it, which would be better at least. So it's who knows. But the concerning thing I think about him in general versus Pam Bondi is that I think he's a good lawyer.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's still limitations on what these people are able to accomplish.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he is the one who basically said, I mean, this whole Jan 6 settlement and all of this,
yes.
I mean, it was clever the way that he structured it.
I mean, when I say good lawyer, there's some, this is in a comparator way.
Wasn't
but
he his lawyer in the Eugene Carroll case?
And but again, I lose a lot of cases too. Okay. Those were loser cases. His background suggests to me more than Pam Bondi. I mean, she was the Florida Attorney General, but I don't know what her pedigree is other than that. So, Jeff Landry was our Attorney General.
Not saying a lot.
Yeah, exactly. As an actual lawyer, it is not any proof of pedigree. Like he was at a big New York City firm. I think he also was in AUSA. Like he wasn't in the in the federal prosecutor's office. Like I'm pretty sure that his pedigree is of one that lawyers that I know and respect and I come from myself come from.
Yeah.
So I think he probably has the acumen and the strategic know-how to get more stuff done.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of priorities for him.
Priorities, and also that luckily our system still has, you can't just do whatever. Yeah, exactly. Judges, juries. Yeah, there's some safeguards, but
okay. I know you need to go, but we have one more. Yeah. We have one more thing, and that is Julia Letdown.
Yeah. Letdown, is that? Did you just make that up?
No, I didn't. This is my life partner, the love of my life, Rob's quip is Julia Letdown.
That's good.
I think it's a great nickname for her.
It's pretty good. Yeah. If Trump hadn't been on her side, he would have come up with that.
Yeah. So Julia Letdown, she is running for the state Senate, the U.S.
Right?
Senate.
Yeah.
The U.S. Senate.
Yeah, for Cass to take over. The actual Senate.
Not actual, not the bullshit Senate.
That was me in real time, though, being I'm tired and have. Yeah.
That's really funny. So she's running for Senate. She beat Cassidy.
Currently in Congress.
She is. She is a congressperson. She is not very effective. But to follow up on the conversation that Jackson and I had last week about the data centers, it's recently been reported that she bought Meta stock after she signed an NDA with the company.
This was like, I've only heard a little bit of reporting, but this made national news. I heard it like on national NPR when I was getting out of my car recently. Like, yeah. So this, it seems pretty shocking
let me
from
give
like,
let me give you some
Yeah.
of the details and then we can riff on it. So she signed her NDA with the Meta shell company in June of 2024. So this gave her access to like all the confidential details about their plan for building this data center in Richland Parish. Within months, she began buying stock in Meta and NVIDIA, which is the company whose chips are going to power the Meta data centers. And then she didn't disclose those trades for more than a year. Like there's a 45-day deadline by which members of Congress are required to disclose their stock trading, their trading activity. And she waited for more than a year.
And this was just in her own name. Bless her heart, she just did it in her own name, I assume, too.
Yeah. So then her trading continued after the deal became public. In January of 2025, she partially sold her NVIDIA holdings and purchased thousands of dollars in additional Meta stock. And then a week later, she sold part of her Meta holdings and then the remainder of them like later in the year. The problem is, I mean, the trading is a problem, but also she's not disclosing any of this stuff. Like she's waiting and waiting and waiting to disclose it.
Well, the trading is a problem, meaning that with Congress in general.
Right.
But on the front end of this, just beyond Congress in general, with like the information that she's receiving, because she's involved in should Louisiana make this deal, is just clearly insider trading.
Yes.
Like that just is.
Absolutely.
I mean, whether you're in Congress or not in Congress, like it's classic insider trading.
Yes.
In fact.
If anybody, including Todd Blanche, wanted to prosecute
Yeah,
us,
right.
But, but this is not an isolated incident because she did this. Like now reporters are kind of digging into what the fuck Julia Letlow has been doing.
Interesting, because I actually wonder, and I don't understand, and I don't mean this honestly even in a pejorative way, like why it is the conservatives like her, like why people were so behind her. Like I don't really ever hear about what she's doing.
They think that she's a useful idiot.
Maybe. I mean, she took over the seat from her husband who died.
I mean, that's why they put Mike Johnson where he is.
He's been a politician. He's ambitious. You hear about what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't hear about what she's doing.
Well, she hasn't really done shit.
So she took over her husband's seat. Now everybody loves her. They know she's a reliable conservative.
She is a useful idiot.
Who's just making a shit ton of money off of this.
So now some reporting is going into this. Letdown disclosed 210 individual stock trades from the prior 2 years that she failed to report on time. 100 of them include Meta and NVIDIA stock, which, I mean, she's reporting this stuff like more than a year late. When it comes to like elections, that timing actually matters a lot.
Yeah. That reporting deadline based on state or federal law?
That's federal.
Okay.
Yeah. But the funny thing is that she supported the Stop Insider Trading Act that passed
Is
like
she
about
too
a month
stupid
ago.
to know that that's what she's doing? Or she just was like, oh shit, I should clearly like support this because I'm doing it. So I can't be like, to be like, don't look at me.
I don't know. I mean, there's just so much irony here. She's like trading her stock. She's not disclosing appropriately what she's required to do. And then she's voting for the law that is trying to clamp down on the bullshit that she's doing. I mean, it's just...
I mean, just again, even though she's been in Congress for a long time, I mean, a fairly long time at this point, I don't know anything about. She's not in our district, but like she's been a mystery to me for some time. Maybe she's a fucking idiot, not just a useful idiot. Like this is horribly unethical. Definitely illegal.
I mean, I'm just going to say, if you are an elected official, I don't care whether you're in state office or whether you're in Congress, like you should not be trading stocks. You should not. Well, I mean, the non-disclosure agreements. Jackson and I went into a whole thing on this. So you should listen
I was
to
just
that.
about to say we need to check because that is it's shocking and that
I mean, one of the things that Jackson and I talked about is like we want to do a follow-up episode with the three of us to talk about like ethics law reforms that we need.
Oh my God. Yes.
Because like the NDAs are insane.
It's insane.
The stock trading is insane. And yeah, this is a perfect example. So
it's a perfect example. And also, the cynic in me, that's why I asked you, I was like, and she did this all in her own name. That's also why I'm like, she's a fucking idiot. I mean, because it would be very easy to do what she's doing and make it
Through
less
like a
easy
shell
for any,
company.
exactly, less easy for just like any basic human to figure out whether she's disclosing it late, but whatever. I mean, first of all, again, more proof that this person's an idiot. But beyond that, like, it's so easy for our government officials to be like just corruptly profiting on their positions.
It's happening. I feel like it's just part of
the
of the game now.
I know.
It's just
And
par for the course.
the problem too, in this sort of specific situation, it's a little bit different when it's sort of like diffuse in Congress in general. I don't know how much input she had on this decision really happening, but like clearly they thought that she should be read in, as like the congressperson and maybe soon to be senator of this area, like that she may have some real sway over this. So that also obviously incentivizes you then to do the fucking deal, right? So it's not just insider trading then, it's also like literal public corruption then, which when, at least in Congress where your one vote, I mean, it still can have that effect, but might not really move the needle much. Like the fact that something makes it unfair to the rest of the goddamn world, that then you can buy or sell things on that basis, but you might not really have the ability to like make it come true. But if you also have some say in making sure that like the stock will go up because the deal does go through, it just like sort of compounds the problem. Yeah. Like exponentially compounds the problem, actually.
Yes, it does. Some people are getting rich in Louisiana, and some people are doing very well. And most of us are living in the worst state in the country to live in. And that is kind of the moral of
it is
podcast
the moral,
today.
And it's also like just such proof that it is the perfect way to finish, just sort of as we started, is that like, think about the amount of time that she has spent trading these stocks, figuring out when to disclose it. Clearly not enough time figuring out how to make this more opaque and less obvious, but whatever. Like, tons of time. Like, if people like her or Bill Cassidy, who's like spending so much time thinking about his big speech that he's going to give for posterity about like what will go down in history as like a very bad vote. If those people spent that time thinking about how to strategically make our state better,
improve the lives of the constituents that they were elected to serve.
And not just saying they're going to do that, but actually what are policies across all the different scales that we could do? Someone like Bill Cassidy, who actually is very well positioned to do that. He is a doctor. He worked at Lolly Kemp. He actually would be a good person to be like strategically thinking about this. Thank you for nothing.
Thank you
to our legislators and policy people. So, oh my God, I'm so horrified. No, just
on that note, we're going to wrap it up. What are the people supposed to do, Ellie?
The rating, the reviewing, the subscribing. Did you have to say this last time?
I did. I think I did you justice.
Yes, mostly the subscribing. As we say, pass the word along to friends or tell your friends, tell your enemies.
We really would like a review. Even our friends out there that are listening to the podcast, just open up Apple Podcast and write a short review. Like, we would appreciate it, even if it's 1 star. Yeah. I think we're going to be back next week. Honestly, it's hit or miss right now because we're both very busy.
Yeah, it's August, which is not really a busy time here normally. It's just like a hot and miserable time. And then, we're both also very busy and like kind of unpredictably so. But we're here, y'all. We're here. We're surviving. We're trying to, I think we're both in good spirits and we're surviving and we are informing you guys about all the fucking bullshit. So yes, write us a review or blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. And we'll talk to you next week, probably.
Thanks, everybody.
Seriously is presented by Lift Louisiana, a nonprofit organization advocating for reproductive health rights and justice.